Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about gaming journos finally realizing that the future is very bleak for them. And I'm sorry, I won't be very clear before we get into this video any further that we're not delighting in people losing their jobs. There are some people that work in pop culture journalism and in gaming journalism that are decent. Fortunately, there are also a lot of people that are not.
Yeah, and sadly, the ones that are not usually are the clickbaity people who bring the views and they'll get to stay.
Right. So we're going to talk about the situation going on with gaming journalism. Again, this is like the 10th video I think we've done on it, but I don't think people realize just how bad it is for digital journalists right now, like how bad the numbers are. And as people who have run websites for a number of years, I am telling you, the ad rates are the worst they've been in at least 15 years. Like
I don't remember seeing them this bad personally.
They're very, very bad. I mean, our one network that we're in, they've historically, and these sites use a lot of the same networks, by the way. We're going to talk about Gamurs Group, but I believe some of their sites use the same network that we're in. We have seen a decrease of like 70% in revenue. And I'm talking for the same number of page views. I'm not talking about the views falling off a cliff. I'm talking the same number of views only bringing in 30-ish% of what they used to bring in.
And that's with them like oversaturating these websites with ads too.
Right. And yeah, it's ridiculous. So we're going to talk about this and talk about how a lot of these sites are pivoting to AI. And it could be argued, I think, in some cases that some of these gaming journos, I'm using air quotes here, are basically just bots anyway. They regurgitate press releases, they regurgitate talking points from Twitter, and they've led to, I believe, the lack of interest and the speedier decline of gaming and pop culture news sites compared to other websites.
Oh, you say that. I say agenda-driven.
Agenda-driven websites.
Let's call it what it is.
So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. If you do, you'll get a woohoo.
Woohoo!
Go out to clownfishtv.com for objective pop culture news. Go out to piratesandprincesses.net for objective Disney news, theme park news. And this is no secret. Like, this has been going on for years. I think this is part of the reason that so many video game journalists hate YouTubers, is that there are YouTubers out there making more money themselves than like their entire staff is making combined. And it's sad, but people trust people they can make a connection
Even
with.
the ones that are game players, like Markiplier and stuff. How much money is he getting?
Oh my God, millions every year. So this is unfortunate. This is Gamurs Group, and they own a bunch of websites, right? And they bought Destructoid. And Destructoid was, at one point in time, I thought a very reputable fan-run video game site. Now, in recent years, just like everything else, it's gone to shit. But back in the day, it was one of the few sites I went to regularly to get honest opinions from different people. They had like a bunch of microblogs and,
Years ago, you could get honest opinions. Then these corporations came in and bought them up for the sole purpose of mining them for views or for PR arms of other, studios or things like that.
Well, that's what happened. All these websites were for the longest time, they were bankrolled by studios. They were bankrolled by venture capital. They were always... the scheme was always kind of a pump and dump. They were going to pump up the numbers on the websites and then dump them off to the next organization that would buy them. And we're starting to see that there are dwindling returns now. I mean, the group of gaming sites that CBS bought for like $500 million, they had to sell for like $50 million. They lost a massive amount of money on these sites. Other websites that like Legendary runs The Nerdist now, and it's like a shell of its former self. They've been laying people off like crazy. And this is Gamurs. They went around, and I think what is going on is they're buying up sites cheap because the ad rates started to drop at the end of last year. And I think they're buying these sites up dirt cheap. And as a site owner, you're looking at this like, oh, this is my exit strategy. This is probably the best chance I'm going to have. Get out while the getting's good.
Right.
So you're going to unload your site.
I can build another one, kind of thing.
Yeah, I can always, if the ads ever come back, if that economy ever comes back, I can always build another one, right? So this is Gamurs Group. They bought a whole bunch more sites, and they own the Mary Sue. And
I'm sorry. I would not be sad at all if something happened to the Mary Sue.
Right. Well, I think it might, because the issue at hand here, I guess, is AI. They're going to be more reliant on AI going forward to handle a lot of the day-to-day drudgery.
Well, it's funny, though, because these are the sites that are complaining about AI right and left on their articles, and then probably because they're going to be replaced by AI.
Yes. And for a lot of it, I hate to say it, unless you've got a really unique take, if you're just regurgitating press releases, AI can do your job.
Right.
You know?
I mean, we've done a couple test articles to see if it would work.
They suck.
Well, some of them didn't, though. Well, it still takes a person to go through and make it.
Oh, that's it.
True.
That is it. So what they're doing is they're basically like, okay, we can generate more articles with AI, and then we can hire an editor to oversee those AI generated articles, because you have to make sure that they're accurate. Because sometimes, like we did a test article with a Disney list, I'm like, this isn't even accurate. Like, this ride's not even around anymore.
Right. That's true. That's what we're saying. You still need someone to go through it. But at that point, why use the AI at all? Just have the person write it. I mean, I personally don't think they should use AI for everything. No. Maybe to fact check some things, but then it didn't even work for that. But I'm just saying, I don't think it's a good idea, even though I like to see the Mary Sue go away. I don't think it's a good idea to use AI to replace people. I think what's going to happen is, I think this is desperation. I think they're basically like, can we hire one person to do the work of 10 people because we only have AI assistants? Yeah, with AI assistants, because we only have enough money to pay one person. That's kind of where we're at with it. So Gamurs owns Prima Games and .esports. Prima Games, makes the gaming guides, right? They've been making game guides for years, but they acquired Destructoid, they acquired The Escapist, Upcomer, and more from a Canadian esports and events company. So that was the thing for a while too. They thought that esports was going to save gaming. This is why G4 TV went in hard on esports, and they spent ridiculous money thinking they had like the next NBA, and they didn't have anything. They came in like dead last in the ratings, and that whole thing is collapsed. But this is some of the other sites they own probably recognize them. And Mary Sue, Game Pure, I didn't know they had the Mary Sue. Is that a new thing? Because I thought Mary Sue was somebody else recently. They bought that, I think, 2 years ago. Now, I've heard from other people that Gamers Group is pretty quote unquote woke. I've heard that they, but it's getting to the point now where they own the Mary Sue. They own the Mary Sue, but it's getting to the point now where that's going to bite them in the ass, because there's a bit of a revolt now, because their editors and writers do not want to work with AI. Well, I didn't think so. I mean, and I can't blame them, because if you open that door, you're going to be out the door. Yeah, I mean, you open that door and you're out the window. I have been in that situation myself, where you're training your replacement. You're training your younger, cheaper replacement, and that's what it's always about. They always try to be like, oh, we just want new, fresh ideas. I'm like, no, you want some fresh-faced kid out of college who is cheap and doesn't ask questions. And I think this is how we got ourselves into this situation. Everybody's talking about wokeness and social justice, and I think what happened was these companies hired people on the cheap to come in, and they brought all their college idealism with them, and they didn't have the real world experience to temper some of that idealism, and they brought that into the workplace, and they hired more people their age, and it just kind of, what I'm saying? That's how I think we got here. And I think in the case of comics, we saw this. In the case of these websites, we see it, because who else is going to work? I mean, if you have 2 kids and a mortgage, you're not going to take a job as a freelance writer for the Mary Sue. No. It's not going to happen. But this was a couple weeks ago. Now we're seeing that people are getting fired, pushing back against AI. Oh, so they're actually getting removed because they said they don't want AI. Yeah, no, see, as much as I don't even like the Mary Sue, I think that's bullcrap. Yeah, I think it's bullcrap too. But they basically were talking about a couple of weeks ago, they own non-gaming sites like the Mary Sue, and We Got This Cover, they own that too. Oh, we got this cover too. Oh, that explains so much. Yeah, so back in March, Gamurs laid off a large portion of its staff. Everybody did. There are at least 50 members of the staff that had lost their jobs due to what Gamurs Group claimed was the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. Yeah, sadly, the venture capital reliance caused a huge, which we said was going to happen. And you don't have to be dependent on the venture capital directly. A lot of your advertisers might have been dependent on the venture capital. Or they just had money in that bank. Or they had money in that bank. Right. But I mean, the venture capital's run out a while ago, which isn't helping. So I won't bore you with the details. The writer says Silicon Valley Bank is a lender for a lot of companies. Now, 2.5 months later, on June 13th, a listing appears on the Gamurs Group website for an AI editor. So this is it. The future of written gaming content is here. This is what the job entails. Let's take a look at this.
Let's see, rewrite content where appropriate, write headlines, add links, add images, and other WordPress production processes. Ensure content opportunities have not previously been published on Gamurs Group websites. Assist the AI content and SEO strategists with daily AI tasks. Now, here's the thing, and I'll let, inside baseball, for all the complaining about AI, I guarantee you a lot of this stuff is already being generated by AI. The headlines and the topics, we know the network that we're in, that a lot of these other sites are in. They actually have a tool that you can use. I don't give a shit, I'll tell you, because then you can start to see what's going on here. They have a tool you can use that looks at your website, the traffic you get to your website versus what people are searching for on Google. And it gives you suggestions for topics and even suggestions for headlines and suggestions for the very first paragraph of the article. Now, we don't listen to that 95% of the time because it's like, this is bullshit. We'd never write about this. But I'm seeing more and more sites rely on it because I'm like, that's a headline that came up as a suggestion for us.
Yeah.
Like CBR is one of the worst offenders of it. Like people think
it was like a meme. They had a CBR headline generator, app as a joke.
Yeah. Their headlines have been generated by AI before people even knew what AI was.
Well, wasn't BuzzFeed doing that? They were talking about. We talked about before. BuzzFeed was doing that like crazy. Yeah.
Yep. So what they're doing is they're basically like, but I think Google is honestly at this point is smart enough to weed out a lot of the AI crap, just like it was smart enough to weed out stuff that was plagiarized from other websites.
Whoever wrote this article wasn't smart enough to figure out where to use these little, header things. In general, the article produced will not require a high level of in-depth gaming, or this should be the same thing, entertainment knowledge, and are more basic in structure and expertise. So you write gaming stuff, but you don't have to actually know anything about gaming because the AI is going to do it for you. But the AI wasn't smart enough to know that you weren't supposed to make a break there.
That is every gaming journalist ever. So they're basically, so now we're talking like, okay, so not only do we have an entire generation of freelance writers working for gaming publications that have no interest in gaming, right? They just wanted to use it as a step stool to get to like the New York Times or some shit like that in their heads. But now we've got AI and you don't even have to know anything about gaming.
Well, get this. Yeah, I love this. Expected output of 250 articles per week.
Yes.
Okay, but did you go and see what the price was? Up here. They're getting $4.20 per article. You have to do 250 articles per week. They want you to go fact check it, write headlines, add links, add images. Every one of these things is going to make that article. Basically, you could have written the article quicker than this stuff's probably going to take you.
Yeah, but you would have to pay somebody
right.
$10 or $15.
But I'm saying whoever got this job you could have written the article yourself in the time you're going to spend doing all this work. I can tell you from experience.
Yes. And
you get $4.20 per article.
Yes. And that's it. They're basically trying to automate the process because I think they realize that at the end of the day, the vast majority of content on these websites, glance at it, move on. People want to know, when's a game coming out? How do I beat this boss? How do I, whatever. They don't care about your political hot takes. They don't care about your opinions. They don't care about you as a person. They basically just want some information.
You don't even have to know how to play the games for gaming content.
So here's again.
Well, to be fair, a lot of them haven't played the games that currently write, but that's another story.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because I think what gets me about this, and again, the test we did a test. I'll own it. We did a test a couple months ago.
I just want to see what it would do.
To see if we could do a listicle with just very blunt like Disney. It doesn't work. I'm telling you, it doesn't work because there's so much correcting I had to do to this article. I'm like, I could have written this from scratch.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
And if you're not a gamer, you're not going to know what to fact check. In my case, I did the listicle and I'm like, this rides down. This one, they put it, it's not even it's in the wrong park. This isn't what it's actually called. There's so many errors that you would only know if you were a theme park enthusiast. It's going to be the same with the gaming articles.
Right. You don't have to know how to play games, but you're not going to catch the errors because you don't know how to play games.
Right. If they're talking about a game and like, oh yeah, when Nintendo brings this game out and it's like a Sega game, if you don't know, you're not going to know. And you're going to look even more stupid and more people are not going to trust your website because they're going to be like...
But then this editor has to go through it and go through and catch all these errors. And at that point, it would have been cheaper to hire somebody else to just write the whole thing.
Somebody's going to do it though. And we talked about this with comics.
Well, yeah, you can make up to $1,000 a week.
Yeah. Yeah. And somebody might be damn good at it, but the quality of articles, but does it matter? I mean, it's all these websites now, they're all just clickbait farms.
Well, per day you have to do if you work 5 days a week, you do 50 articles a day.
Yeah.
I'm guessing across all their sites, or just, I don't think it's just one site, right? It was across.
Yeah, it was across all their websites. So the thing that brought this to my attention was actually Hogwarts Legacy trending, and they were talking about how Hogwarts Legacy, and I said before, it basically became a catalyst to help these publishers get rid of a lot of journos because they called for boycott of a game that wound up becoming one of the most critically acclaimed best-selling games of the year. And they looked absolutely freaking stupid. So they're like, well, let's take the human component out of it and just stick to facts. And if we're just sticking to facts, if we're taking the opinion out of it, we don't need actual people to do this job. So that's the train of thought here. And it's kind of scary because, we just have to sound human.
I've brought this up before. They're already doing this with Salesforce, so they're not doing the writing, but they're doing a bunch of the office management stuff with their AI so that, all that can be done through the computer, which I think is also scary in the fact that what if somebody can corrupt the AI? What if the AI can get changed somehow and then there goes all your money or something? I think it's dumb to allow an AI to run all this stuff. But, they're already doing that with office management too. So they're getting rid of people there.
Yeah, anything that's kind of like grunt work, they're getting rid of. And, we talked about this in art too. And what's going to happen, the most useful application for AI right now isn't creating art whole cloth. It's doing drudgery. It's doing, in-betweens on animation. It's maybe, generating backgrounds. If you could pre-program in like, okay, here's what this set looks like basically in 3D, and people do it already with like Manga Studio or Clip Studio, whatever the hell they call it now. But you can actually put a 3D render in there and then generate backgrounds. But if you actually told the AI, hey, go in all these panels and throw in a background or something like that, so you don't have somebody going in and having to do that. That's the kind of shit that they want to do. But it is going to be overused because companies are going to be like, well, why cut 10 employees when we can cut 20 employees?
Right.
Why stop there? So this is Peter Pischke, who does some writing for us on clownshishtv.com occasionally, and he brought this up. This is Chris Moyes from Destructoid.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, Destructoid.
Yeah. Senior editor. Wow. Okay, so Magnifying Glass is already out. I was dropped for having an overcommitted work ethic, not adapting to gamers' mentality enough. And I've heard stories from other people that Gamurs is absolutely horrific to work for. Thing is, it's a handful of companies that are buying all of these sites. It's Valnet, it's Gamurs.
Right, that's what we've been talking to you guys. We've done videos where we broke it down for you who owns all these sites.
They were, at one point in time, every one of these websites was started by an individual enthusiast. And then all the enthusiast websites, they cashed out and they got gobbled up by these companies. And they're eventually going to eat each other, and then they're going to shut up. I think they're going to shut a lot of these websites down because they're redundant. You do not need 50 different video game sites all talking about the same shit, especially if it's AI. Especially if it's AI generated, it's all going to sound the same. But he said that he was not adapting. I did, but not adapting enough. Put away the magnifying glasses. My record's pristine. So apparently people are going to go through and try to figure out why he got fired. I worked every day, 7 years, 8 next week, covered news, reviews, events, live streams, edited and proofed. I had a weekly column I never missed. I knew readers' birthdays. I grew freelancers. There's no secret reveal here. I wrote more news and proofed more work than anyone and still got gone. Probably
we've been there actually.
Expense.
We've been there actually. We know. And then we got our site stolen. That's a whole nother.
And then we had our site stolen. That was a whole nother issue. But it doesn't matter. I mean, the new reality is I'm going to be honest. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are. It matters what you're costing the company. If you're bad, it makes it easier.
Well, if you push back, though, this sounds like it's a pushback. It's not even how good it was. It was if you push back.
Yeah.
You're out.
Here's somebody else, Alicia Haddock. I've had LinkedIn messages. I know a friend who's been contacted this way. A couple between Gamurs opportunity and all the layoffs. It's hard not to feel depressed looking at the state of entertainment journalism.
You kind of all did to yourself, though.
Yeah, so
I'm not trying to be a bitch, but there's where it's at because of bad choices that a lot of the hired journalists in air quotes have made, especially in gaming. They weren't even playing the damn game.
So that's where I wanted to go with it. So you're
finally getting there.
Finally going around the bend, trying to paint.
It only takes you this long for other things. Anyway, sorry.
Like making breakfast.
Right.
Because you like to smell the bacon.
That's right. That's exactly what I mean.
I don't eat bacon. I think it's gross.
Anyway.
Here's the thing. A lot of these journalists, you made yourselves disposable. You made yourselves disposable because you actively drove away. I'm not saying this person in particular. I don't know.
Not these people particularly.
But a lot of these gaming journos, these entertainment journos, you drove readers away. You drove eyeballs away. So now these website owners are like, shit, we got to make money on this thing.
Well, they also went like down the road to other things. Like they became
political.
Well, I was like, they're polluting what they were. We cover games. Now we cover games and political hot takes. We cover pop culture. Now we cover pop culture and political hot takes.
Because the headlines,
and politics.
Because it's whatever people are searching for. Freaking Inside the Magic. We were just talking about today. I know I keep dunking on Inside the Magic.
Inside the Tragic.
But I am so shocked at what Inside the Magic has become, because it used to be, I mean, granted, it was very much a pixie duster website back in the day, but they did cover a lot of stuff that a lot of it, like the Diz and WDW News Today covered. And it was like, here's the new cupcake at Disney and here's the new ride. Now it's just all like freaking the Disney castle's on freaking fire and Mickey Mouse is bleeding out of his eye holes.
They have ones like, oh my gosh, The Little Mermaid is number one. And when you look at movie and you look at into the Philippines, or this castle did something, it's in Disneyland Paris or something like that, and it was something ridiculous. They keep doing that.
From like 5 years ago, now they're covering like completely unrelated
the other day,
pop culture stuff.
Oh yeah, they're talking about Thundercats sneakers from Puma. But
what does that have to do with Disney?
The other day it was funny. They because we talked about it too, about the woman at the Grand Fiesta tour getting off the boat. Well, they got a lot of views on that. So after they got a lot of views on that, they were literally going to Reddit and pulling up stories people had from like a decade ago and posting it. And then when you read the article, it's like, oh my God, what happened? Well, 5 years ago, and there was a glut of these.
There was there's about 2 weeks where it was like every damn headline was awful. I mean, it was just like, and I don't want to hear anything about us being negative or clickbaity because it's like Inside the Magic was like, holy shit. But I think they're also doing it because they're trying to hold on by their fingertips, because I think there's a not only the ad rates are dropping, but there's a lack of interest in planning Disney vacations.
But there's a lot of interest in Disney's burning down.
That is 100% true. And I was gonna do an article on it. I was gonna do a video on it sometime and talk about that. Like most of the traffic now in regards to Disney news is negative Disney news. People are actively rooting for Disney to fail. And it's not just
the YouTubers.
Not just the YouTubers. Like, mom and pop Midwestern couple, they're rooting for Disney
I've seen a definite shift on the different Disney fan boards or annual pass holder boards. You still get the people that as soon as you say something negative, they all jump on, they all dogpile you and try to get you shut down. But a lot of people are chiming in like, nope, totally agree. That's happened to me too, or whatever. Anyway, back to the point. We're totally going off topic.
The point is it's not going to get better, and I'm sorry. It's not going to get better. There is hope for individual influencers. If you worked at one of these websites and you can go start a YouTube channel or a podcast or something and connect with people in a real way, if you can offer something that AI cannot offer, okay? If your opinions, your take is unique, you'll be fine. The only problem is there's not enough room for all of you. So it's kind of like the Dark Knight, right? The Joker broke the pool cue and said, here, you guys figure out there's only one job opening. That's basically what's going to happen. There might be thousands of gaming journos and entertainment journos that are out of work, but at the end of the day, maybe 10 or 20 of them can actually move on to something else, to move on to what else is next. And that's it. Things are evolving. The listicles and game facts and all this shit, that can be done with AI. You giving your personal opinion or giving your insight into a situation, that's not something AI can do yet. We'll see. Maybe we'll be replaced someday.
Well, apparently it's not that hard.
Apparently it's not that hard. All right, we gotta wrap this up.
Yes.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Help support the channel. Go to thereef.support and get early access to podcasts, videos, and other content. That's thereef.support.